Every evening, from the gleaming glass window of his corner office, the millionaire CEO watched the same figure below, an elderly janitor with stooped shoulders, pushing a squeaky cart and hauling overstuffed plastic bags. Most employees had long gone, but she remained, silently working her way through the lobby and hallways. But one rainy night, something caught his eye. Instead of heading home, she veered toward an old lamppost at the edge of the company parking lot. Curious, he stayed and watched. From the shadows, small figures began to appear, children. Wet, shivering, barefoot. And the janitor? She opened her bags. Inside weren't cleaning supplies or trash, there were children's books, hand-sewn dolls, warm snacks wrapped in napkins. She knelt down, handing each child something with care and warmth. Some hugged her. Others clutched the books like treasures. He stood frozen, heart pounding. That night, he couldn't sleep. By morning, he was in HR, asking her name. No one knew much. She worked quietly, never asked for help, never shared her story. 1 week later, a press release shook the company, the Rosa Foundation for Street Children, named in her honor, funded entirely by the CEO himself. It included mobile libraries, food trucks, and night shelters. He called her into his office, something no janitor had ever done. She entered nervously. He stood up, offered her his chair, and said, "You've been building hope in the shadows. Let me help you shine." Tears filled her eyes. She never sought praise. But now, the world knew her name. Not as a janitor, but as a hero. Late one night, a junior executive stayed back to finish reports. While glancing through the building's security footage, mostly out of boredom, he noticed something odd. The janitor, an elderly woman with tired eyes and heavy steps, always stayed longer than necessary. Curious, he watched more. She wasn't wasting time or hiding. She was leaving snacks, granola bars, fruit, and water bottles on desks and break rooms used by the night shift staff. In the locker area, she taped small handwritten notes with encouraging words, "Thank you for working late. You matter." Then, quietly, she slipped a few folded bills into the long-forgotten tip jar behind the vending machine. No one saw her do it. She never told anyone. She just cared. The junior exec, stunned, brought the footage to the CEO. For a long moment, the CEO said nothing. Then he whispered, "Play it again." By morning, her life changed. She arrived to find her old janitor's uniform replaced by a new badge, building supervisor. Her paycheck increased tenfold. Her apartment gone, replaced by a spacious, rent-free unit in the very building she once cleaned. When she asked why, the CEO answered simply. "Because this place is cleaner, kinder, and more human, because of you. I just never noticed before." She didn't seek applause. She just believed every corner deserved dignity, every worker deserved warmth. Even if no one was watching. But someone did. And now, so did the world. Rain slammed against the skyscraper windows as thunder echoed through the city. The CEO glanced at his watch, he was late for a meeting across town. Grabbing his coat, he rushed out the building's lobby only to pause at the doors. No umbrella. He cursed under his breath, debating whether to run for it. Just then, he spotted her, the elderly janitor, outside, dragging her squeaky cart and heavy bags through the downpour. Her uniform clung to her skin. Water dripped from her gray hair. Yet she walked with quiet determination. She noticed him hesitating under the awning. Without a word, she reached into one of her soaked plastic bags and pulled out a small, still dry umbrella, carefully wrapped in plastic. She held it out to him with both hands. He blinked in disbelief. "You need it more than I do," he said softly. She smiled gently. "You look like you have somewhere important to be." Then she turned and kept walking. Into the storm, the puddles, the cold. He stood there for several seconds, ashamed, humbled, stunned. The next day, he asked for her by name. She was escorted to the top floor, where the skyline stretched for miles and polished floors reflected the clouds. Nervous, she entered his office. He looked up and smiled. "You gave me more than an umbrella last night. You gave me perspective." He handed her a letter. It was an official offer, a seat on the board of his new foundation, for community care and dignity. She stared at the paper, speechless. No one had ever offered her anything like that before. But she had given everything, quietly, consistently. Now, the world would finally see the heart behind the hands. The building's basement was long forgotten, dusty, dim, and used only for old storage. No one had set foot there in years. But one evening, while working late, the CEO noticed something strange on the security feed, the janitor disappearing down the stairwell with her usual bags. Curiosity tugged at him. Quietly, he followed. Down the creaky stairs, past flickering lights, he reached a heavy door left slightly ajar. He peeked in, and froze. Inside, the basement had transformed. Old shelves were filled with worn, recycled books. Blankets and cushions formed a cozy circle. On the far side, under a soft beam of flashlight, sat the janitor, reading aloud to a small group of children, their faces wide with wonder. Some clutched stuffed animals. Others held paper notebooks filled with scribbles. They weren't her children. They were homeless kids from the streets outside. She paused only to hand out warm snacks and encourage one shy boy to sound out a word. The CEO stood in silence, overwhelmed. The walls were cracked, but what he saw was a sanctuary. By sunrise, his decision was made. Within a month, the basement had been fully transformed. Bright lights, fresh paint, shelves of books, desks, computers, everything a child could dream of. It was now the Lighthouse Learning Center. And at its heart, the janitor, no longer just a janitor, but now community director, guiding, teaching, and continuing what she had started in the shadows. When asked why, the CEO simply said, "She saw what no one else did. She gave them light in the darkness. It's time we gave her a brighter one to shine from." And for the first time, the basement wasn't hidden anymore. It was hope, built from compassion. The elevator doors slid open, and the CEO stepped inside, distracted by emails on his phone. He barely noticed the janitor already inside, an elderly woman hunched over, gripping two large plastic bags. As the elevator descended, he glanced up. The bags were worn and overstuffed, dragging against the floor. "You carry those every day?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "They look heavy." She nodded, eyes cast downward. Then, after a pause, she whispered, "It's not garbage. It's hope. Things they can use." He looked at her, puzzled. She continued, quietly, "Books. Gloves. Snacks. Dolls I sew at night. There are kids under the bridge a few blocks down. They wait for me." Silence filled the space between them. When the elevator doors opened, she shuffled out, leaving him standing there, stunned. That night, he couldn't forget her words. The next morning, he made a call. Weeks later, the company's prestigious annual gala arrived, usually a night of luxury, speeches, and polished performances. But this year, the CEO introduced a surprise guest. The janitor walked on stage, bags in hand. With trembling hands, she spoke. Told them about the children. About how she stitched hope into each doll, and tucked prayers into every sandwich. Her voice cracked, but her truth hit like thunder. By the next day, the video had gone viral. Donations poured in. Volunteers signed up. News outlets covered her story. She wasn't just a janitor anymore. She became the face of a new initiative, Bags of Hope. Launched by the company, inspired by her quiet mission. She never expected recognition. But the world finally saw her not for the bags she carried, but for the hearts she carried them for.